Thanks, Greg. But my eulogy? Really? Congratulations, Brad. Rob, you'll be up here in a few minutes. I know how important you've been, because I've been a fan of you guys and the OVC and Brad trying to poach Kyle for the A-Sun. What the heck was that? I mean, to just say that I'm going into a Hall of Fame with Fred Russell and Grantland Rice and John Bibb and Larry Woody and David Clymer and Joe Biddle and Mark McGee and Maurice. I mean, if you Edgar Allan, Waxo Green, you notice they're that's just Tennessee and Banner, bro. I mean, that's just those two newspapers at 1100 Broadway all those years. Teresa, Mo, Tommy Bryan, Tom, Krager, Mike, for keeping the TSWA going and making it relevant. How many All-State teams does the TSWA do each year, high schools? 30? And how many kids are on those teams? Hundreds? That alone makes this organization viable. To Ron in Cumberland, you just were named the athletic director of the year for your conference. What you've done here, was it the conference or the world? I don't know, but Ron, congratulations. I'm trying not to look at a lot of people because every time I do, I'm almost start crying. I'm being inducted, but tonight the people I've brought here and who I've invited here are the ones that are being honored. And I'm going to try to weave a little bit of a few stories through that. Who invited here tonight? Ron Fryer. I bought Big Orange Illustrated and sold Big Orange Illustrated, one of the things that worked. When he hired me in 2000, the Banner had closed and we were going to compete against the Tennessee. We had 10 employees in one sports department, 9 full-time. And as Greg mentioned, we won National News Sports Section of the Year twice, runner-up 9 out of 10 years. And this organization honored us as the best in the state. The incredible people there, David Beauclair, Tony Stennett, on and on. Bill Freeman, who my kids thought until they were age 15 that we had a conduit in Panama City at Edgewater. Thanks, Bill, how's the key? To Clark Haynes, you don't know him, he was sports editor at Bowling Green Daily News, and I was actually going to be the next Don Kershaw. It produced something called the Appreciation Fest. We had people from coming all over the country. I was program music director of a rock station. Man, that was it. But sports was in my blood, and he tapped into that, and I got ink into my blood with all that. Bubba Spears, it was a coin flip for you to be up here, but I was starting to have you and Greg both up here at the same time. I could do that. When I became the prep writer for the Nashville Banner, we had actually a Saturday paper. It's Monday through Friday, Saturday morning. And by the way, 1939, the Nashville Banner and the Tennesseans switched cycles. The Banner gave up the Sunday paper so it could have the afternoon cycle, which later was their death, 50 years later, being the afternoon paper. And being owned by, well, I guess we can say anything now, being owned by Irby Simkins. All right, there you go. And the thing I did when I moved here and I was living down in Gulf Shores, I'd drive back up once a month. I'd started a distribution company. I was delivering the Country Peddler. I had 9 employees once a week, and I applied for a job with Wayne Oldham, Active Lifestyle, Mr. Gaddy, Wendy's, all of that. And I got hired out of 500 applicants. And while I was working for him, I started working for the Nashville Banner. I worked 17 and a half hours at $10 an hour. So, do the math. But Bubba introduced me, and I think he saw in me that I cared. And I'll tell you why I cared. I was a kid, grew up with a high school basketball coach. My father I remember on Christmas break, we would get up at Darrellville High School, Darrellville, Kentucky, just north of Springfield. And we would get there 2 hours before the team would, so he could put the wood and the coal in the fire enough to warm up the gym for practice. And so, and by the way, my goal was, when I took the job, I visited every high school in our coverage area for 2 reasons. One, I felt I needed to meet everybody. And number 2, I could supplement my income with the mileage. So, Craig Ladd, during that time, I became I was doing 14 things like I do now. He was the editor at Athlon. I became a fact checker. I learned so much in that short period of time about the importance of making sure it was right. And later, he was the editor of Big Orange Illustrated. He started Football Talk, the Saturday morning show that Bubba and I did with Kurt Page 12 years ago. This will be our 12th year doing it in a couple, starting in about 4 weeks, believe it or not, with Kurt Page. And they asked me to come along, and of course I took over. So, Adam Johnson, your dad, Ted, couldn't be here tonight. You're my son. You grew up with Grace for 20 years ago. 25 years ago, the very first 24-hour sports talk station. The very first morning sports talk show, David Coleman did. The very first integrated sports talk show in the South. And for that, I'm proud. Pogue, my gosh, you have been so good to me. I don't know, in so many ways. And we used to really piss the Tennessean off. And sorry, Murray, but you break the story right now, you get it right now on your phone, right? Well, we were the afternoon paper and they were the morning, and we could have the same story at the same time, but they always had it first. So I would call, and I did break a lot of stories, but there are a lot of stories to be broken then, right? With the Predators, the Titans, and all of that stuff. And I knew I was going to get beat, but I knew they had the story, so I would call Teresa Walker at about 8:30 and give her the story. And she credited the Nashville Banner, and Hope had it on at 10 o'clock, crediting the Nashville Banner, yet we hadn't even come out with the story yet. Class, by the way, Greg Ruff, you got a comment? Hold on.
Look.
That joke's
what it is.
That's just how Greg can be the busiest person in the world and not get a dang thing done. That's what that is. Look. That's Greg Ruff. Love you, buddy. And George gave me my nickname, the Poster. He got me into radio. I always thought I was a radio guy writing or whatever. I don't know. But you opened that door for me. Beth, this is going to be good. You know what I'm going to say, don't you? In 1994, 95, I was the Vanderbilt beat writer for the Banner, and you were the director of compliance. And what did you think of me? You thought I was a big jerk.
I did.
You did, didn't you? Thank you.
You were looking for stories.
Yeah, I was, and you were right. I did way too much backflipping, at the end. But now, you know what I think of you and the Yogi. Teresa Phillips, another sister. I mean, how many Halls of Fame are you in? 7, 8, 9. Pioneer, first woman to ever coach a men's college basketball game. I know. I'm sorry about that. Yeah, that wasn't good. And just a trailblazer. Thank you, Howard. I grew up Hope. I before I knew Hope, I don't know what time it is. I mean, Brad, we got plenty of time. I'm gonna tell you this. Brad, I used to on Sunday morning watch Hope doing, the coach's show with Coach Merritt. And he'd be in there with a cigar and probably had his whiskey off camera and something, whatever. And I fell in love with it. And I fell in love with TSU. And then when I met you through the radio station, you ever the water I fell in love with TSU because of you. Albert, Let me think. How far is it from Moorhead, Kentucky to your house? How far is it from Edwardsville, Illinois to your house? How far is Jackson, Alabama to your house? Guess what? That's 10 each way. Craig was our spotter, and he left his keys at a gas stop there, and we had to stop back, and they left it on top of the gas tank. And here we are, like at midnight, and out in the middle of nowhere, trying to break into something. But Albert, your spirituality. See, I can't even say it. I mean, you're thank you. You're spirituality. I know that. Pete and Claudia, I mean, you want to tell them how I met Terry Chris? I got to travel with the Predators and Jerry Helpers here as well, so I'm going to put all you together. I was covering the Titans, and they all of a sudden say, "Hey, you're covering the NHL expansion." I go, "What the hell are you talking about? You're now covering the NHL expansion." So I did. Craig Leopold was the only person I dealt with. They hired Jack Diller, the president. So I get a call one day from Jerry, and I expected it. He said, "You've been talking to Craig the last couple of years. Well, now you got to call me first." And I said, a lot of people would have said, "No, yeah." And I said, "Well, I've been expecting it." So, what the hell a balloon? Did I miss anybody? Yeah, I know, Clay. You're coming. You're last. Trust me. You know how you go to those balloon festivals and they go up in the air, but they come right back down. They're tethered to the ground. That's wrong. I get, without her, no telling where the hell I would have floated off to. And in 1986, Labor Day weekend, September 4th, 1986, we had our first date. I'd met her the day before. I'd seen her walking around town. She was a legal assistant, and I thought she was sort of snooty, but she just didn't like suffer people very well, as she's right now. And so September 4th of 1986 was our first date. September 4th of 1987, I had proposed, and September 4th of 1988, we got married. That'll be 35 years this year. Although there's been a few times that she just wants to cut that rope and just let me float off. Grace and Kyle, and Grace, on my mother's birthday, will schedule to give birth to my first grandchild, December 21st. Alice, Rose, and Kyle. Kyle got to have a one-on-one recently with David Poyle, and David Poyle, in a private setting, apologized to him directly for trading Shea Weber. So, little did he know at that time that if it was going to be a boy, he was going to be called Shea. How about that? And everything that I do in life is for Clay. Buddy, I love you. Hey, thanks everybody.